Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now, let the stories begin. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Celebration of You. And as always, I'm always ecstatic with goosebumps and these new amazing friends that come into my life. And today I am thrilled and honored to get to share with you another amazing human being that I've been blessed to have in my life. And well, I think we're all in for a treat because not only is she gorgeous on the outside, she's gorgeous on the inside. And that is why I'm celebrating the beautiful Sarah Kaler today. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, it's wonderful to be here.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you and to share with everybody all the magnificence of what you're doing in this world, girlfriend. It's crazy.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm just so excited to have this conversation.
Well, I mean, it's like, where do we start, right? Like, I can't wait to get into, well, the story behind the story, but I want to celebrate and brag on you for a minute. So just to give people some context, you are the co-founder of Soul Powered, which I can't wait for you to tell us more about that because I'm in awe of what you are doing with your partners around that work. You're passionate about women in leadership. You've done a ton of executive coaching. You still do. Your repertoire of clients is off the charts, from Lululemon to Facebook, Accenture, Cisco, all those amazing clients. What's fascinating to me is that you started this business with a passion. Tell us about Soul Powered and the passion behind this. And what is this all about?
Oh, where to begin? Oh my gosh. So, it's interesting because I often get asked this question, and I always think, where's the real beginning, right? There's sort of different stages to the story, or stages and phases, if you will. And I think there's a few key, pieces of the story that I think are important to share and that I think, will really resonate. And, one of the key things I always like to share is that I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs that I like to share.
Yes.
I like to say, and my business partner and I, Brenda Wilkins and I, like to always share this. We have this in common, actually, that we always giggle and laugh about this, that we both grew up in families of entrepreneurs, and we sort of have this kindred spirit connection because we both like to say that we grew up in this sort of serial entrepreneur world. And growing up, I thought that was normal, right? I thought that what you did when you popped out of high school was
start a business.
Right? And I actually didn't realize until I was a young adult that wasn't the norm. And that sounds, now as I say it, like somewhat of a naive statement, right? But then it was my thought process, right? It was my reality. And I started my first business at 20 thinking that's just what you do.
Yeah.
Because I had seen not just my parents do this, but relatives, uncles, aunts, grandparents. And it was just the norm, right? And I'm not talking flashy businesses. I'm talking boots on the ground, family businesses, grit. When I was a kid, sweeping the floor, helping my parents out around the family businesses, right?
Love that. Yep.
And so I just, I think at a young age, I was around leaders, teams, businesses, and groups of people that were soulfully behind something.
Wow. That was powerful. What you just said. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As young as I can remember. And the thing that I always carried with me, like through my childhood, into my young adulthood, and into my very first business, was that, and I have language for it now, right? I didn't then. It was just sort of the norm. But it was that my job was to lead,
Mm.
right? And that my team would be like family,
Mm. Love that.
right? And
Yeah.
that was actually normal. That having the thought of having a world-class team that was high functioning and unstoppable, to me was a normal state, right? Having a group of people committed to a vision and a mission and a set of goals, that was just my environment. And so, and I learned that, people that were so committed to one another and to committed to a vision really could do anything they wanted and have fun, right? And that work could really come from that place of love and joy and passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I started my business, I had that. I had that foundation, and I had learned and really sort of been brought into that. And I'd like to share that because I think that's
Please
really,
do.
really important.
I know. I love this. And, I think it's so powerful. Do you realize the vernacular you're using? Although coming from thinking about what you said as team, leader, shared vision, right? Joy, fun. It's really no different than what every leader's looking to do in the corporate world.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like it's crazy, Sarah. I was listening to you coming from the background of all these, I love that you call it serial entrepreneur, but all of that. And yet it's the same. There's nothing different about the secret sauce that everyone's looking for.
Exactly. And there's this myth, right? There's this myth that it's different somehow, right?
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. So then take us to the beginning. Yeah. Keep going. All right.
So then I think the other part of my story that's, really important in terms of how Soul Powered really came to be, because Soul Powered was not my first business. Soul Powered came later, right? And so then I launched into a big corporate career, and I wasn't looking for that. I got recruited out of my first business. And I, at the time, was like, no, I don't do that. I work for myself, right? I wasn't looking to work for other people. And I got recruited to work for Lululemon Athletica when they were very young and more in that startup phase, high growth, moving fast. They were primarily only a Canadian business at the time. There was probably about 35, 40 people in the head office at the time and stores across Canada. And so for me, I was going, okay, the thing that's different about this opportunity, right, was that there was a group of people who were very entrepreneurial minded, and they were committed to this big vision and mission, and they were in it together in a way that I had seen before, right? So I went, this is really interesting to me, because although I identified as an entrepreneur, I saw that these people were sort of entrepreneurs coming together, right? In service of this thing that was so much bigger than themselves. And I thought, wow, okay, I haven't done that yet. That's something I want to try on. I want to go try it on.
Just try it on and see if it fits.
Yeah, I'm going to try it on and see how that goes, because it evoked enough curiosity in me that I thought, I want to go contribute to that and see what happens.
And how long did that last, girlfriend?
Well, that was 10 years.
I know. It didn't just try it on for a year.
Yeah, I did. Initially, that's how it kind of went down. My husband and I'll never forget it. My husband and I had this conversation over dinner one night because I was really torn. I was like, no, I'm not going to do this, And my husband's going, well, Sarah, maybe you should consider this, like really slow it down and really consider this opportunity for you, because although you love what you do and you value what you do and it's great, perhaps this is something huge for you. And so I made the leap, right? I made this leap, and there was no turning back. And it was this rocket ship that just took off. It was the early years. It was an incredible ride. I mean, we were growing year over year, double-digit growth, which in, the retail industry, in any industry really, but in that industry at that time was pretty unheard of. We went public. We had an IPO. I mean, we went international, right? I mean, it was an incredible time. And I started to get promoted rapidly. And before I knew it, I was running the majority of the United States business as a general manager. And I was responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue, hundreds of teams, thousands of people rolling up to me, right? And I had this huge job, really dream job situation, right?
Oh.
And
this is crazy too. I'm just loving how this just escalated, right?
Yes,
boom,
it really
boom, boom, boom.
did.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of those situations where if you had interviewed me back then, right, I would have told you, I love my life. I love what I do. I love the people I develop, the teams, the leaders. I was doing the thing I felt I was put on this earth to do.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
how I felt, right? Every day.
Yeah.
And yet, here's the part, right? Here's the behind the curtain, what started to happen, right? So it started slow, and then the wake up calls became louder. So my health started to fall apart behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. And it started small. I was sleeping through weekends. I was getting really exhausted. I was in a different time zone almost weekly. Airplanes a lot, right?
Yes, that'll wear you out.
Yes,
it does.
I kind of became that classic corporate airplane warrior, and doing my job and traveling a ton. This was prior to having children and things like that. So I was on a roll and I was on fire, and my results, I had to prove it. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, Here we go. Yep.
And I started to tell myself in my mind that the reality of my exhaustion was just normal. I thought, well, I'll accept this because it's just, par for the course as a executive, as a senior leader. This is how it goes. And the reality was, that wasn't the case for everyone, but I didn't know it at the time. I thought it was normal. And then that escalated into grand mal seizure episodes and soon a diagnosis of epilepsy.
And that is the pivotal part of this whole story. That is crazy. And when we talk about, wow, looking at you then, right? This senior leader in a thriving organization, everything's going great. And you can't figure out, like, if we are not in touch with ourselves and putting ourselves as a priority for our health, it just slowly started deteriorating. Like you can look back, right? And go, oh, yeah. Sometimes we don't see it when, but we can look back and go, oh, then that's what was happening. The tired, all this. Tell us about, not that I want to bring up the bad experience, but when was that? Tell us about that first experience. Like what happened? Where were you? You can probably remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh my gosh. It's so vivid. I mean, it started, this is interesting. And I think anyone who's gone through crisis will understand this. And the sort of series of awakenings, right? I like to say that the callings, they got louder, but in the beginning, sort of the first couple episodes, I was in such a state of denial that I did not understand how much stress my mind, my body, my spirit was under, that I would literally be in the emergency room. I'd be in a hospital bed. And I would be grasping for my BlackBerry. Remember, it was the days of the BlackBerry.
Okay, that just made my stomach turn.
Yes,
as I'm listening.
Literally, yeah. And I literally remember. I have these memories of my husband and my parents, my sister, all standing around in the hospital room. As the test, because I would go in, the ambulance would come and they take me to the ER, and then, I might have to stay for MRIs or CT scans or whatnot, right? Whatever testing would have to happen. And I would have to be stabilized and all of that. And each episode was a bit different, but I have this very vivid memory of my husband being on the phone on the company BlackBerry. Talking to
your company BlackBerry, mind you. Yes.
And he was calling my upline boss, my manager at the time. And I remember looking at him saying, what are you doing? Because I wanted to sort of control that messaging. I wanted to call, and I felt so in denial. Like, I remember thinking, we're like, literally, this is going to sound crazy, but I remember thinking, we're cool. Like, we got this.
Wow.
Because I was in such a state of denial.
Yeah. You were like, just give me another IV of fluids. I'm just dehydrated and I'll
Yes.
head on out. Give me my shoes.
Exactly.
Come on, everybody. Let's get over this. This was just a nothing.
Yep.
And,
And in my mind, I'll tell you what I was thinking. Like, and this is perfectly honest. I was thinking in those early days, I don't have time for this.
Oh, I have said those words. I don't have time for this. So you know what you did so brilliantly? You made sure you didn't have time for it. You made sure you kept moving forward, right? That was just a hiccup. That was just a hiccup. We're going to be just fine. And being a mother or a wife and a leader, all those hats you're wearing, by God, I'm going to be just fine.
Yes. And I'll tell you, I literally created this mental state of, this will not stop me. And it was almost like I spoke to it as if it were a person, right? It's like, you will not stop me. You will not stop me. Right. And then, it's like when the diagnosis came, I went, because they were basically like, well, Sarah, you're putting your life on the line. You've got to slow down. You've got to stop. This can't continue. And I thought to myself, okay, how do I process that? Because in my mind, I thought, they don't know. Like, they don't understand my life or my situation, and they meaning the specialists and the doctors.
Right. Yes. All those people out there, right?
All those people out there trying to talk sense into me. And so I eventually, had a rock bottom where I ended up having my son, right? And everybody, they tell you when you have your children, things change, or, when you become a parent, things shift, right?
Right. Yep.
Well, it was my moment. I'll tell you that. So, and I was monitored through my pregnancy. I did fine, but they were concerned, of course, because I'd had all these situations and the stress levels and hormone levels and everything. And I, of course, worked right up until my due date.
Of course. But wait, this is after you've been diagnosed with epilepsy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right? So you are now maintaining whatever this world needs to look like for you, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm still, I'm in this general manager United States role, and now I'm pregnant. Right.
I can picture you right now.
Oh yeah. I was flying on airplanes until, I was 8 months pregnant with my overhead bin, shoving my suitcase up there, refusing help. I was the quintessential
in denial.
Stubborn,
in
denial, overachieving. I fit every box. And so I have my baby boy, Jackson. And when he's 5 weeks old, I have 6 grand mal seizures in 1 week.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Sarah.
So this is my rock bottom, right? Twice that week, I'm carried out of my house on a stretcher.
Oh, with a baby.
And with a baby. So, in that, I have many, many visuals in that, from that week. And, when you have a grand mal seizure, you come out of being unconscious, right? So it takes you a while to wake up and, be fully functioning again. And so my visuals are a bit fuzzy but I have them. And some of the things that I remember immediately are looking at my husband and saying, no more, I'm done.
You remember saying that? You said that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. As we were getting into the ambulance.
But you don't even know you're having them, right? They just happen, from what I understand.
They happen, and then I go unconscious.
So you don't have, do you have any warning signs, or did you?
It's different for everyone. In my case, we've learned by studying all of my episodes, we've learned certain indicators around physical and mental, like extreme physical and mental emotional stress. There's patterns.
Okay.
It's different for everyone. who has these types of diagnoses. But for me, in my pattern, we have studied and talked to many, different specialists and even researchers now over the years by, just becoming our own advocates to learn. And so now we feel like there are some lead indicators, right? But it's very tricky.
And what you found from after all, and so and I want to go back to that moment in the ambulance when you said, I'm done. This is it. To get you to that point. And I just want everyone listening, Sarah, there are so many people listening to this that in their own secret minds and in their hearts, whether they've admitted it to anyone else, they can really relate to the level in which we are so good at pushing ourselves. Yeah. And pushing and pushing. And sadly, and this makes me sick what I'm about to say, but it takes when somebody's has literally a heart attack and you hear about how young they are, but the stress that they were carrying. Yes. This is exactly no different. It's how your body, I truly believe our body manifests psychologically and emotionally everything, and eventually it catches up to us physically. And that's what's happened. Did they, in all of the studies and all of the everything you've been through, have they been able to truly link this to stress, or was there a hereditary piece to this? So I guess my question is, do we know your son is okay? Like, I've never asked you this question. How is this? What happens next? In my case, it's very clear that it's linked to stress. Okay. Yeah. And of course, like I said, and everyone else's situation, it could be very different, but in my case, it's very linked to stress. And, I will say that it is so important, as you just said, I think that it is so, we live in this world, there's this epidemic of burnout and this, epidemic of stress and noise in our world, right? In so many different forms. Mm-hmm. And I think that we accept, we've sort of been groomed to accept it. And also on another side of it, when I kind of look back at my former self, right? Yeah, the former self. I love how we call it that. Self. The pre-Sarah.
Yes. I look back at myself and I go, wow, because I was so good at hiding behind my competency.
Ooh, that was big.
Yeah, because it was safe.
Yep.
Because here's the truth of it. I could hear those callings, but I was terrified to confront them. Because I had no idea what was on the other side. I mean, I didn't know who Sarah was. I didn't know what my life looked like. I didn't know myself as a leader any other way. It was almost as if it was a big black hole over there. I didn't know if, because of what I was hearing from these specialists, if I was even able to have a child.
Well, yeah, they probably had you convinced, good luck, may not be able to have one. And so you still, with faith and everything, you have a beautiful child.
Right.
Right. But it took you and more callings and being in an ambulance after 6 of these in 1 week for you to finally, isn't it interesting? And I'm getting goosebumps as I say this. Isn't it interesting how some of us, I used to say, I'd look up and I'd say, I don't need Post-it notes. Give me a darn billboard. My sign is a brick on the head. It's like you weren't getting the message. I'm still fighting through it. And I love what you just said, and I hope nobody misses this. You were hiding behind your competencies. How many women and men out there, I don't care where you live, what language you speak, what education you have. I think so many of us, by the way society is, we do that. And we can become brilliant at hiding behind the competencies.
Yeah.
Until it kills you or puts you in a life-altering state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the realization in that rock bottom moment for me was not just, wow, do I have a massive fear of things not working out or fear of failure here? but, in that hiding, but
Right.
it was also, I had known two things my whole life. And this was a huge wake up for me in these multiple, ambulance rides and
Right. They knew
stretcher
you. They knew
moments,
you by
right?
name.
They
So,
did,
yeah.
and the two things were, I knew as a child that I wanted to make a big impact somehow with people. I didn't always know how. I didn't know how I would do that. The vehicle there sort of changed over the years as I grew into adulthood, but I always had this sensation. I could feel it. I remember even as a child knowing in my body that I wanted to make an impact and do something meaningful.
Mm.
And perhaps that was my environment. Perhaps it was this sort of entrepreneurial spirit I was around. Perhaps it was something else, right? But I knew it. The
Mm.
second thing I always knew was that I wanted to be a mother.
Oh.
And in that moment, I was completely unavailable for both.
Okay, that was really profound. That was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
That one just got me. And you might have missed that wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that's when I said no more.
Mm-hmm. And you can remember that too, just in that ambulance, looking up and saying no more.
No more.
Wow.
And, Soul Powered was born literally, from me, and it wasn't just about, people sometimes say, well, did you create Soul Powered because you wanted to live your best life? And I say, well, sure,
Sure.
sure. It was part of that, but it's so much bigger than that.
Oh, it is
right?
So much bigger than that. And you know what? I'm just having an aha moment as I'm listening to you because, and the people listening don't know this yet because we haven't talked about it, but I now totally understand, covered in goosebumps, why you are doing the research study you're doing on overcoming adversity and bouncing back. And I got to be a fortunate interviewee and a select woman in your study. And I never realized the why behind it till right now. Sarah, the mission you and Brenda are on and Soul Powered and this study you're doing about interviewing people that have overcome immense adversity and what is resilience, right? And how does that drive you forward in life? It all makes sense to me now because of you, beautiful lady. Wow. Incredible.
Yes. And I think there is something so important about, who we are as human beings, who we are as leaders, how we lead in the world. And, we use that word team a lot, right? But whether it's a team in an organization, whether it's a group of people in the community, whether it's, a board of directors, it doesn't matter the context. Maybe it's a family, maybe it's leading your household, right? We all need to have the ability and understanding to see what is it that we need and require to rise up stronger, wiser, right? And really, what we say to be, our most indestructible selves.
Indestructible self. I love that. It's easy to go down the other path. And you're so blessed and fortunate to be alive and to have the gift of life and to be a parent. And so,
Yes.
and I am just in awe of you. And I absolutely am beyond grateful that you shared this story with me. And there's something I'd love to ask you more. I ask a lot of the guests this question, but now I'm like dying to know what your answer is going to be. It's like, now I got to know. But go back, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self and give that beautiful young lady wisdom or advice based on who you are today and what you know today, what advice would you give her?
Well, a lot of things.
Okay, go on.
I'd say, probably the probably the number one thing is probably that you're enough and you belong.
You're enough and you belong.
And I say that because when if we go back to that piece about hiding behind competency, I had spent so many years and so many hours, right? It's like so many people out there, so many driven, overachieving
oh, yes.
people, right? Really getting those results, proving myself, and being reinforced and rewarded for that.
That's why it's so difficult to break away from it.
Yes. And I think, whether it was me that I was speaking to or, everyone in their 20s today, I think it's essential that we rewrite, the messaging, and we rewrite the culture, the cultural norms around how we live and how we lead, because a lot is at stake.
And I would add to that, I think a lot of it starts in the younger years.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would never want to point fingers or blame parents or guardians or teachers, but that's where it starts, is the influences
so right.
that were around, right? And so I think
100%.
I want to leave a challenge as we wrap this up with every person out there. And I'm not just calling out parents, I'm calling out any human being that is interacting with young people, whether you're in education, whether you're a retail manager, right? And you've hired some young people, whether you are an aunt or an uncle, I don't care what it is. Pause and think about, are we giving those young people the gift of saying, you are enough and you belong, and God gave you gifts? What are we going to do with those gifts, rather than trying to shove in and fix what was never there to begin with? Because that's where we put our emphasis in this world. And no wonder people end up like you and I have on numerous occasions. We're lucky we're alive. Yeah. Because the world I've spent, I want everyone to know that, because I haven't said this to you, but the opportunity to be interviewed by you for that study, whatever we did a couple weeks ago, I want you to know, Sarah, that after we were done, and I know it was like 90 minutes, and you asked me a lot of questions, and we revisited some really dark times of my past, it was a gift. And I want to personally thank you, because I got off that phone and I thought, wow, I haven't thought about a lot of this stuff, but you know what? I'm so damn grateful I went through it, because I couldn't be the Holly I am today if it wasn't for the stuff I had to go through. And you are a walking example of someone that said, I look good, it smelled good, I had it all, and I was dying, and I'm lucky I'm alive. Right?
Thank you for sharing that. It is absolutely true. And I'm so grateful to know you, Holly, and honored to have you and your contribution to that study, and to be, having this conversation, because it is invaluable. And much like you're sharing, I have nothing but absolute gratitude for my experiences and in the path that I've walked.
And you're getting ready to move to an island.
Yes, and that is true also.
I love that part.
Also true.
Yes, and soul powered. I just have to tell everybody, soul powered is all about living your dreams too. So she's living her dream, and they're moving to an island this weekend.
Yes, we keep our cups full, right? We walk our talk.
Yes. And what a gift. What a delight. I thank you. I adore you. I love Brenda. I just feel like, yes, there's kindred souls here, but would you please share with everybody? I know people are going to want to reach out to you. They're going to want to maybe ask questions, even if it's about the health stuff and more about soul empowered. So tell people how they can reach out to you, my dear.
Absolutely. Well, definitely you can reach out to us on our website, which is soulpowered.com. If you want to email directly, you can always find me at sarah@soulpowered.com. I'm an open book. I take any questions. And you can also check us out on, social media. We are, available, and, we talk to the community all the time. And you can find us at Be Soul Powered.
Oh, I love that. And we just love soul powered. I mean, there's just something about that, right? I mean, that just in itself says it all. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't wait to connect with you both again in the near future. Brenda's coming to my retreat in May, so I'm excited to see her, and what a gift you are. And please, please let me know what I can do to support you, because I am here 100% because I believe in what you're doing, and I thank you for the gift of making a difference in this world, Miss Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, my love. We'll talk soon. Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly, though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.